None.
Hello, it's P and P with Chris Morgan and soon Matteo with Wave of Action UK, and we're going to be discussing the week's topics. So, hi Chris.
Hello, Kate. Well, should I say PK? What part is there? Is there a PK or PK? Is there like a certain terminology?
Kiki Kachu or something. I don't know. You can make it like
Kiki Kachu.
It's kind of fitting, isn't it?
I was flabbergasted by the abbreviation and the terminology of this unique team that's come together. It's like, I don't know whether it's some like sort of special superhero kind of team.
You don't know whether it's a superhero or just like a peak show, do you? What is this? Peaky? It's one of those. Oh, I didn't know if she was joining them. Hey? Oh, no. There we go. So, yeah, we're going to discuss a few things and get a few things off our chat. I'm going to turn my volume off because that's just going to keep coming through. Discuss a few things. See, have you heard anything in the news this week?
Oh, well, the thing that we was all together at the weekend addressing, you managed to throw together in a week a little gathering. Yeah, man. Yeah, you can raise your hands for that and take a celebration, because it really was a nice little culmination of bringing people together within your local community. Because I'm not from your area, and you guys invited me up to host, like, just being like the compere, which was nerve-wracking because I'd never done that before. But yeah, we had that rally in Peterborough, and just to see like the turnout of people that are standing in solidarity and coming together over Gaza.
Yeah.
No matter what we look at this week, Gaza has just taken the forefront in anything. You cannot escape it. There is no way, if you're online, there's no way that you can get away from seeing what's going on out there.
I think the thing as well with me and P, a lot of the events that we throw anyway, we rarely host them. When we do them, if you notice, we kind of go to take a back seat. So we're really glad that you kind of hosted that event, and you did really well.
Man, I was papping it. I was absolutely. I got really hyper nervous, but when I get hyper nervous, it kind of goes into a different direction. Because like I'm still new to this, like the whole. I'm less than a year's into this journey. You guys are like, I don't want to say it like, I say you like old pros, but then that's got other connotations to it, and you don't want to say that to a couple of women. You guys are a bunch of old pros. It's like, all right, hold on, what are you saying? What are you insinuating? But yeah, it was nice to come along, and I got all hyper nervous, and I started to try and do too much at the event. I tried to help out too much. And that's something that's really, it was an interesting thing to be part of a solidarity group, but then feel that you wasn't doing enough because of the magnitude and the severity of what Gaza is at the moment. You want to do more than what you possibly can, and me doing that was infringing upon others, and yes, I had to make a couple of apologies because I got a little bit too raw.
It's new, isn't it? I think that's the thing. You learn, you get to a stage in life, and you learn that you have your own space. You have and activists are the worst for it. We demand our own space, like, because we're freemen of the land. We can't stand it when anyone steps on our toes, or we're like, oh, this is our space, this is our land, we've fought for this, this is ours. Do you know what I mean? So over the years, you kind of get so used to your own place and your room. We're equally just as bad, but then at the same time, I think that's the way of, you take a step out, and if you watch the situation and you watch it unfold, you don't have time to judge it.
Well, normally able to have a time, normally able to take that break, but it was completely different being responsible, having that responsibility within that kind of environment where you've got people that are coming there to show solidarity, and you've got to do something. It's a different role within the activism that I've had to deal with, and You know, it was a very steep learning curve. But that's my own personal thing. But no matter, it's just so hard because you just do. I didn't want, you know. When I've heard you guys talk about setting up events, and you say it's just so hard that you don't want to disappoint anyone.
No.
You feel you've got that responsibility and that to make sure that you're doing everything that you possibly can, and you always feel that you're not doing enough, which is you know, I didn't like that because I was put into a case of like, well, hold on a second, I normally just have to rock up to these events and say solidarity, peace and love, get a couple of hugs and get myself inflated. But this was, you know, you really have to pay attention. But it was great. It was great. I appreciate you guys putting your trust and faith into me to open my mouth.
No, fantastic. It was absolutely fantastic. I think it went really well, and especially with the way we kind of it all come together. And you know, we've had a lot of, I think even me and P have felt it, especially this week. We were talking about it, the blasting that we've received for the demo itself and for our part in organising the demo and what we stand for, haven't we, P? We've had quite a...
Well, that's what I was going to say. In some ways, this Gaza thing, it has united us with Muslims that maybe wouldn't protest with us, and that is only a good thing, that, you know, we're building bonds within our communities. But the opposite side of that is it's also brought the M word, the dreaded fear word of Muslims, that just breeds hate in otherwise enlightened people, and the conflict that we've been getting from the people who, they don't really even understand Gaza. They've never even looked into Gaza. The only thing they've looked at is the M word, Muslim. You know, and then it's been bred into us, oh, they're fighting all the time and what have you, and turn the other cheek, just look the other way. And I accept that from people that are, you know, head in the clouds on everything else. But when you're an activist, I expect you to take each person on their merit and not what theory they believe in life, not the colour of their skin, because that isn't going to ever solve our crisis. You know, segregation.
The idea of you know, because a lot of activists that I've noticed, and it's strange to still talk about this from an outside perspective, but everyone that I know has now classes me as an activist, and I'm like, look, man, I ain't nothing yet. It's like nothing. Looking at it from that kind of objective standpoint, you know, there's a lot of, oh, I don't want to get involved in that. I don't want to get involved in that. I'll stick to this issue. But there's no way. It, like you said there, Pete, it comes across as a complicated situation. And when I first started looking at Israel-Palestine, I was like, I never looked at it before because I thought it was too complex. But it really isn't. It's very simple.
The same happened with Syria. The exact same happened with Syria. They made it complex. It was hard to read. People didn't want to defend it or stand for it because it was just nobody knew who to, you know. And with Palestine, we've got the added threat of Hamas, which is the hate word. Hamas, the democratically elected government of Palestine, and I will get shot down 100 times for that. I know this, but I don't care. I don't care. I'm sick
you
of
was
seeing
making a
dead
point.
children.
You was making that point at the weekend, saying with Dane, and you was coming from that peaceful aspect, and I was coming from, man, screw this, you know, it's Israel's fault, and just like, you know, not thinking, I was just absolutely blaming. I was just blaming. Now, the more that I go back, I've come back from the weekend, looked at more stuff, seen what's happening. Right, there is no way that you can defend what Israel were doing. It's a genocide, out and out, slaughter in the biggest open-air prison known to man. What we're watching now is history. We are watching history in a making right now.
And it's not the first time, and it's been going on decades. You know, Syria is relatively new, and it has taken a lifetime for Palestine. How many people have died in Palestine for them to get the support that they've got now?
1,297 yesterday, so I don't know what it is today.
It's close to 1,400.
There you go. So over 200 people have died today.
And do you know the average age? Do you know the average age of people in Palestine?
17,
16, 17.
It doesn't matter who's right or wrong. you know, what theory we have about God and the afterlife and things like that. None of that matters. Children are dying, civilians are dying, and we have rules in place that say you cannot bomb civilian areas like that. You cannot do that. You know, if any other country was doing this, that had oil, that had resources that we were after, that was Russia or anything that they wanted to go to war in, they'd be over there sanctioning them and having ground troops in there. And the fact that they're not doing this, it's just so hypocritical. Because the basic fact is children are dying. Children. Babies are dying. I'm sick of seeing pictures. I see a little girl with a dead baby brother, it looked like. Absolutely stunning photo. You know, the photographer took a lovely tribute, I would call it. And I'm sick of seeing these images. It's, you know, that child cannot come back no matter what we do. That child is now gone. And other children are being bred with hate and resentment. And I'm not saying it's black, you know, that they're wrong to, because any of us would feel like that if we witnessed what these children are witnessing. And hate breeds hate. This is not going to resolve the issue. Israel have to make allowances, and they have to give land back.
Well, the thing, in any situation when there's a conflict between an aggressor, it normally falls to the more powerful of the aggressor to make sure that they are more responsible in what is going on. And you're not even seeing that now. You're seeing this is not like when you see the mainstream media talk about Israel Palestine, they put it on an equal footing, like this is a strong Palestinian force, but then on the other hand they just say that they're firing rockets. These guys have got nothing. They haven't got an army.
You put it in a whole, right? They're saying, right, okay, so we're protecting these children, these people who Hamas are holding up as a shield. That's bollocks. Absolute bollocks, right? If these children were in this UN school, right? If a policeman walked into my house and decided to, arrest somebody for attacking me, and that person attacked me and said to me, well, she called me a cunt. Oh, did she? Yeah, she provoked it. They would still arrest the person who actually caused the violence. They are firing missiles. Missiles are killing the children. That is it. That's all I care about. I don't care about nothing. I have no solid evidence whatsoever apart from the UN, from US, Israel, to say that Hamas are terrorists. Now, we know brainwashing goes back a long way, a long, long way. This has been plotted for a long time. We have been conditioned to hate this Hamas. Oh, here's a picture of Hamas smashing the statue. What about people who do it on the other side? We're just activists. We don't like to plug nastiness about other people if we don't have to. Apart from obviously leaders, we don't like leaders. It's just who we hate them.
You know, we don't want them to be victims on any side. You know, no innocent civilian should die because of government policy and because of government actions. That is not acceptable. You know, and the average person just wants a peaceful, quiet, happy life. They do not want all this war and conflict. The only people who want war and conflict are those that profit from war and conflict. And that's what it's about, because Israel would not survive that long without the income it gets from the occupation of Palestine.
The only way we're going to come away from this after this as well is a complete re-education of the Israeli people, because they have been brought up in their schools.
That's not going to happen though, because of the Zionism.
Based on, from pharaohs on who's out to attack them and kill them. Nobody has been out to attack them and kill them until they've tried to kill other people and occupy land. This is what they've been preparing for a long, long time.
For peace to be in Israel, you know, both Palestinians and Israelis will have to go through some rehabilitation to rebuild them. You know, because one is a victim and one is an oppressor, and there will need to be a lot of therapy and a lot of recovery before we can get to a place where they can live in harmony, because that's what should be happening. It shouldn't be segregation and apartheid. They should vote, and they should have equal rights, and they should all be seen as equal.
you had today come out. You know, you just saying, Kay was just saying about the UN. UN come out today. I put it up on the event page. The UN have come out and said there was no rockets. There have been no rockets found in any UN building while they have been in occupation of it.
Rumours out there.
The UN now is saying there is no rockets in any UN facility that we have been in. So when they leave, that's not down to them. So that's fine. So the UN are now saying, right, we told you 17 times that this place is being inhabited by civilians. 17. The day before, power plant hit. The facility for collecting taxes within Palestine. This is now an attack on infrastructure. It's not right. Why are you attacking infrastructure if you're not there to punish a civilian population? You're saying that you're going for tunnels and you're going for rockets. Well, that's far from different now targets. You're hitting UN buildings where you're killing out and out civilians. You hit a power station, the only power station that was feeding the majority of Palestine with any energy, and then you're gonna hit their only way of taxation. What? That's more now. But this is being played out. You got both sides now, no matter what, coming back straight away. No, it's not us. It's not us. It's not us. And you're seeing the Israeli propaganda machine going into full
How
on.
long would you say it's been put in place, the propaganda? Say in the UK, we've had propaganda against Muslims. That is quite clear. We have had blatant propaganda, the halal, the dog issue.
That's just recent. That's in recent. Not since yeah.
They've upped it recently, but it has gone on for quite some time.
So
you look. It goes in spates and stages. It goes in spates and stages. Right? No, it does, because of the wars of the wars and what they need to do. So back in the day, Germans didn't like Germans. We went to war with them. They were Nazis. Didn't like them. Right, then if you had immigrants coming over, you had the Indians, you had Pakistanis, you had Jamaicans. They was feared and vilified. Then what happens? What's the next one? Russians. You don't do them. We go to war. There was a Cold War. There was this, that. What happened? 9/11, the fear and portrayal of Muslims to justify the movement into Iraq. So that was that kind of movement towards that. Christianity has always had a fear of Islam, but Islam still. This is what a lot of people don't realize. Islam founded modern surgery. And if it wasn't for Islamic scholars that were sent out from Jerusalem, because there was mosques and Christianity were living together for years and years, they sent out scholars all over the world to go and collect information and bring it back and hold it in a center of learning to share with everyone. If it wasn't for Islam, we wouldn't have any of the modern history of Greek. We wouldn't have Greek history, because they went and found it and they went and saved it and brought it back. And then the Renaissance happened. Then Christians took that information and passed it on. So when you come to looking at the vilification of a certain populace, it's only because it suits that current agenda. Whatever agenda it is at that time, then we use for the vilification of those people. Like I said, Germany, Russia.
I agree with behind the lines, Muslim propaganda, Muslim is the word they use in the UK against it in general, has been on the cards for years, because it's been slowly worked in. First, it was an accusation that they were taking the houses. That has been going on for 6-7 years at least.
Yeah, 9/11. That's when the ramp up.
9/11, I do believe, but before 9/11, possibly propaganda was being held. They've known what they've been planning on doing. Their only reason why they're doing what they're doing to Russia right now is Israel needs to destabilize Russia. They have to destabilize Russia. That is what US and Israel are doing. They need to destabilize them. They need to break contact with Russia and China. That's what they want to do.
It's to make them look unfavourable. It's to make them look unfavourable because of the simple situation that Russia have been cozying up to the BRICS nations, are in solid and have always been the broker in China with China. But what is happening is America is on the last dying legs. It's on its last dying legs. It's set out its empire with over 800 bases worldwide.
They're still funding with money they haven't got.
Well, yeah, it's that whole idea of a fake fiat currency system. Russia come out the other day and wanted to do a gold-backed ruble. A gold-backed ruble. Now that is,
bam,
yeah,
Russia come out with it.
exactly that. Russia's saying like, right, no, we're going to crash you over now, and this is why that they're ramping it up, because it's a sheer power grab for resources.
And what about that BRICS as well? Brazil,
that's
Russia, India, and China, is it?
Yeah, Brazil, all of those, the Latin America quarter and everything like that. Russia have let off.
With Argentina as well.
Yeah, but that's like, you know, when you look at that vilification.
We need to start taking religion out of politics, really.
Yeah, and education.
Yeah, that's going to be really difficult.
It is, but I noticed we were talking yesterday, weren't we? I can't hear. No.
Because you're talking.
Kay was moving. I thought she was talking. We were talking yesterday about well, there's quite a few like enlightened people, and even by using the word of enlightened rather to and you sleep, it's like it is segregating the asleep from the awake. And you know, I've seen so many new theories of, you know, like with sacred geometry and things like that, where all of this is leading to, and a lot of them are all based on pointing the finger at somebody else. We're better than them because.
It's divide and conquer, isn't it?
Yeah, and no enlightened person can ever use that. They can't say, I'm awake and you're asleep, or I'm this and you're that, because that is segregation in that very context of speech.
Completely.
And that's what's got to stop, because these are all just theories, and really they've got no place in decision making.
The only problem is we always end up dying in the most horrific way in these theories. There's always someone who's going to die.
I've never known such death and destruction to come from such love of holiness.
Yeah, but that's going to happen. What, are you talking from religion standpoint, or you're talking about these new age theories of like changing the paradigm?
Well,
I'm on about like every war that's been fought on religion. Every religion preaches love thy neighbour, be kind, and things like that. But there is more death and destruction.
But the enemies were burned to a crisp.
Was it Tutu who said that when they come to Africa, we had the land, they had the Bibles, and he said now we have the Bibles and they have the land. You know, it's very, religion is so greedy.
Well, it's an appeasement. Now, if you want to talk religion, in my personal opinion, and this is like not the opinion of anyone else, this is just my beliefs on that, and I could be wrong, and everyone else is entitled to their beliefs, and fully believe that you should be free to believe in what you want to believe. But it's old age thinking. It's to keep and suppress a massive populace, to get them thinking in one direction, to make you not feel that you are part of anything else. Because what it does give you, religion, is gives you, well, you don't have to live now. Don't worry, this is nothing now. When you get there, that's when life really begins. It gives you a blasé and glib look on the reality of where you are actually at.
I hope so.
But it doesn't really, because at the end, if you believe that there is a being that's going to judge you, and they say, when they wanted to frack the lands, what did you do? I read The Sun. When they wanted to stop bombing Gaza, what did you do? I shouted, fucking Muslims. You know what I mean? Every day we have choices in this world to make the right choice and to live a good life. You know, and that's what it's about. It's not about on the last minute saying, oh, forgive me, I've done a bit wrong.
Yeah,
How many people on their deathbed piss themselves and think, oh, God, I'm sorry for all this shit?
Well, yeah, you're recanting on your deathbed and all that malarkey, but then that still gives you but the problem is still within the initial thought of religion itself, because religion within itself, like you said, I'm going to go and be judged. Hold on. So who's this guy that thinks he's that important that he can sit there, be malevolent, omnipresent, omniscient, and I'm meant to pray to every day, that he's going to answer my prayers like every other 10 billion people who are praying, or whatever many it is. And he's still happy to sit there and let death and destruction carry on to the most. And we've been close to apocalyptic state. So then
that's that, because with religions, right, you've got to remember, with every single religion you're talking about there, they are saying that you are responsible for your life. That all this death and this oppression is down to us. I believe, we were saying we're going to create a religion, the something religion, right? There's something, and we believe in something. We just don't know what it is. Do you know what I mean? I believe there is something. But I can't, in this day and age, it's dangerous to choose a religion right now. I wouldn't. I don't even want to. I don't even want to look at that, because. But I don't doubt their. I wouldn't turn around and say, right, I don't believe a Christian what they're saying. I don't believe. I understand the zeitgeist. I'm not. I'm just. This is just for analogy terms. I don't believe in Islam, because I still have that fear inside me that says, don't say that, they'll strike you down. Because it's in us. It's in us. Do you know what I mean? It is in us at some point.
That's interesting to hear that from you.
I have this theory that if you actually take it back to every religious message, and back to not necessarily godly beings, but great prophets, great speakers, great storytellers, that could put across a different way of thought from the norm, which is actually quite right. You should be kind to one another. You should, it's man that's twisted most of the messages for their own gain. The actual, when you get back to like the teachings of Jesus, he was a occupier. He was he went to the temples and he tore them down because of the money in it. He was against corruption, but this doesn't mean he was the son of God. They were just interesting. Like, I think it was maybe in his own, we all are. Not like he was personally. He wasn't maybe speaking about him personally, but as a collective maybe. And it's all been twisted out of to a form of control, as a book that we should live by.
Well, any teaching from a Bible for me becomes irrelevant purely because it's hearsay. It's not of the time. The Old Testament was when they sat in a court and they brought these stories in, and man chose what stories they wanted to put in. Same happened with the New Testament. They chose what stories they wanted to be in. Most of these stories were like 2 to 3 generations after the fact of what had actually happened. So all you're hearing is complete hearsay. So it is just from, it could be like, like when you was just saying about starting up your own religion, and I pointed it out to UK the other day about the spaghetti head, the spaghetti-headed monster, and people wanting to wear colanders. The guy fought to get a colander on his head on his passport photo. And that's not to point ridicule and the absurdity of what people believe in religion, because I was coming from an atheist standpoint, but I'm no way, man, because I've seen the power of conscious together. Oh, there goes Pete. She'll be back in a second. I've seen the power of a collective consciousness and solidarity coming together. If you see that, there's your answer to what is really powerful, what is really strong.
The thing is, I think with religion, you're touching on a basis where they are loyal. They hold true to what they do, and I think if the people at the top of them weren't so controlling and manipulative and extreme in many cases, then the people we could just leave them. Let them have their religion. Let them do it. Don't allow it in education unless that's something that you choose to do.
I think that you shouldn't allow children to be indoctrinated into religion, because
that's dangerous.
I know, but I'm just saying that in a future of unity, that maybe the best thing is to let people grow before you introduce these ideas.
with the fact that I do not like my children going to school and learning Christian. I admit that Christian is in our schools. I do not like my child going to school and being told that they have to learn Christian.
Well, my issue at school, I always say, is unless you're going to teach, you know, Buddhism and Sikhism and every single religion, don't bring it into the classroom. And equal amount of time on each thing. You know, even sacred geometry and all of that you might think is mumbo jumbo. Some people believe it. You know, some people think you're talking mumbo jumbo with Christianity. You know, and then I also think that if religion was open, right, children would not necessarily just be what their parents are. Do you know what I mean? The chances are, if you are raised in a Muslim house, you will be a Muslim. If you are raised in a Christian house, you will be a Christian. Very rarely do people venture away from their religions to study other religions to see which one is actually right for them.
But then in these days, it makes a solid free.
Adolescence, where they've experienced, you know, enough, that's when you start introducing these ideas. But they know that an adolescent is going to ridicule some of the ideas. You know, to suddenly step back to a 12-year-old and say, there's a man sat on a cloud.
You hit on the point of education, and this, for me, religion doesn't and shouldn't become part of education because it's faith-based. You have to have faith. You can't gain faith without gaining life experience. You can't ask a child to be expressive with its faith when it doesn't know what life really is. And like you say, yeah, if I don't think it should be taught in any school unless you are going to go whole hog and cover everything. Primary school, I don't think is beneficial for children to learn religion. Secondary school, coming into that, and you do it in a detailed and proper way, but that's never going to happen within this society.
You've got us coming from a Christian. We're all spreading Christian in all these schools, yet we're a paganist.
Yeah, we're pagan nation, original.
Yeah.
So we're not even. It's wrong. It's so wrong.
I did tweet that to I think it was like that. Those British Revolution Britain. We've got the march on the 5th of November, and I was like, look, defending Christianity is our national religion, but that was brought in by invaders. They fucking invaded us and brought that with pagans. We've got to get out there and defend the Druids. That's what we've got to do.
We've all got to go Gandalf. Is that what you're saying?
Have you seen that video? The one where he's like, we're not having no Muslimic people here. I've got a theory, right? We're all right. We don't need to worry about the EDL. They will not exist. They're going to exterminate themselves. Look at them. They can't string two words together.
Yeah, that video is hilariously done because the guy must have been cracking up.
On their own. Don't worry, people. Do not worry. These people will be extinct by the time he gets to
you would honestly hope so. You would hope Darwinian selection would have something to do with it, but unfortunately, it's not going to happen because what it does do, look, and this will bring us back to Gaza. Look at what happens over a long period of time. You're saying about like we need to take religion out of politics. Look at America. When America got woken up in the 80s with Reagan, and just after that, and Jerry Falwell and all these guys started to promote the Christian nation to go out and vote, that was all done in You've gained populace. You've got a populace controlled by national ideas of patriotism, and that stirs up feelings that you are part of something bigger than than yourself. That's what every human's, that's what we're striving for. It's exactly the same.
I can say is. I'm not religious. I've never really been religious, apart from, like I said, I believe in something. I've never been religious. I physically cannot comment on a personal exploration of religion because I can't say, right, I think it's bad as a whole because I have never been religious. So I wouldn't say, right, let's just, even though, like you said, take it out of education, yeah. It's not needed because the wrong education is given to these kids. But as a religion, when I meet these people from different religions, there's so much love flooding through them. I sit there and think, I know what my ideas are. I know that I've seen the zeitgeist, I've seen things like this, I have my beliefs, but I could not take that away from those people.
No, that's completely right. That's completely right, because that's selfishness. That's selfishness, and that's not something that you want to do. But the only problem is with religion that extremism does tend to come out of it. Now that might change if the paradigm was changed.
I was raised Catholic. I was raised strict Catholic. I went to Catholic school and everything. I was fostered by people who were Catholic, and I wanted them to adopt. What?
That's the Antichrist, isn't it? Sorry, there's certain things I struggle with really badly.
And I tell you what, I'll give you some stories. Like when I was, well, you see, my foster parents, I really wanted them to foster me, to adopt me, but they wouldn't because they lose their money. Yeah. And I didn't think that was very Christian and very loving and very caring. And they also used to steal my toys and give them to their grandchildren because they were quite elderly. I didn't think that was very Christian. I had fuck all. I didn't even have a family. You know what I mean? Take me fucking toys. Your kids,
these guys,
your grandkids going to train to be doctors. You know, they're rich.
The church was bred on their children who were shamed. Their child would obviously go into a workhouse if they couldn't afford them to live. Now, in this day and age, no matter how poor I get, I'll starve with my kid. I will stand by my child's side and I will starve with it and I'll go down with it. So it takes a pretty harsh person to do that in the first place. But the Catholic Church, the amount of abuse that is riddled through it, and what was that? Was that place in? Is it Jersey? Was that Holt de Le Grand or whatever? Wasn't that Catholic? Yeah. Was that Catholic or am I wrong?
I don't know.
Well, there's a lot of Catholicism.
There's a lot, they're
in Catholicism.
Got thousands of people going abused. The Catholic Church, to me, I have found over this. Right, I've just said to you there, I don't judge religion, right? I don't judge Christian, Muslim, blah 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 blah. But when we get to a point where we are having thousands and thousands and thousands of people standing up and saying that they have been abused and that their whole system is run on what they earn from these kids. And what,
you see, I had a child, 3 major instances that made me really question what they were doing. Well, probably 4. The first was how everybody got dressed up in all their fineries, but they looked like shit the rest of the week, and they just, went down there prancing about, and it was like this. Someone look at me, I'm at church. I thought, that was great. And there was
God's that forgiving, why do I have to look so good?
There was a tramp. There was a tramp that come in every week, and he always put money in the pot. And he was scruffy, and I always just used to watch him, and nobody talked to him. Nobody offered him help, and I thought I couldn't understand that. But more was the fact that he put something in the pot when he had fuck all else, and still these people never offered him any help.
It's the same with food banks, though, P. When you look at it, it's most of the majority of food banks, and they're doing a great job. Don't get me wrong, but it's run by churches. It's church organisations. Now, then what does that do? That brings, if you've got the government and you've got politicians saying, "Oh, we're a Christian nation, we should be thankful for that," then you've got this charitable act that's being done with a lot of destitute, the poor. When you've got nothing else to turn to, and you're at the last bit of your sanity, all of a sudden someone comes in and gives you, "Hey, look, I've got the answers for you.
Yeah.
There's someone else that looks out for you. Believe in us and the faith that we can give you." Now, I'm not saying all religions do that, but it certainly has happened in history that is the way that religion has gained a mass following. But it's old ideas. We don't need.
After that, I went and counted the money. I used to go and count the money with my foster dad. And I saw the priest's car, and it was like a brand new car, and his big house. And I'm counting this money, and I'm saying to the police, what's this money for? And he's getting quite shit. I got banned in the end, but he's like, because I kept questioning what the money was for. He said for the poor, and I was thinking, yeah, but that tramp gives you money every week, right? And I'm using like terminology I would as a child, and you aren't, you know, you've got this big massive house. He's got nothing. He's putting into that pot. You've got this house and this car, and you're asking for things off people with nothing. You know, if the church was there to help people, you'd be like the Poor Clares, because that's another thing the Catholics teach you about the nuns, the Poor Clares. You know, hi.
Shh, stop talking about him now. He's here now. You can stop talking about him. He's arrived.
Hi, Matteo.
Yeah.
Sorry, I had to disappear there, trying to get him in.
We're talking about religion and the hypocrisy. How churches have, like, I used to go and count the money. They had great big houses, and they were taking money off people with nothing, you know, working class people, blah, 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 but they've still got their new car and their big house. And then you've got the nuns that live with nothing. They have no furniture or anything. And I just thought, this is seriously messed up. And then I looked into it, and I saw that actually they own a hell of a lot of the most expensive property in this country. Yet we're giving money to
the church. It's the church, man. Like you do the Vatican. You only have to think of the Vatican City.
Matteo, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah.
Just finished building the second desk.
You building DIY?
Huh? Doing a bit of DIY, yeah.
You'll need Prozac or something by the time you finish.
But yeah, no, you got to mention the Vatican Bank in that.
Yeah, you got the Vatican. It's the Vatican City, Washington, and the City of London. These are all private countries. These are all countries within countries that have their own laws within them. There's a complete.
You know the setup of the Muslim religion is in terms of what their hierarchy in terms of money is in their hierarchy as well. Do these people that are slandering them know the setup? Do they know how it works? Possibly. We all know how Christianity and Catholic work off the backs of small children, but do we know how Islam
What you're saying, as in the running of mosques and where the finances go in that kind of, I have no clue. I could not tell you because I do not know.
I know, for example, that if you look at the Islamic Bank, I think it's called, they give no interest whatsoever.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
And what they do is they charge you a small fee to take care of your money, and basically your money literally just sits in a vault. Right? It's what actually banks are supposed to do, as opposed to making loads of money out of what you do. They literally just keep their money in a vault because they believe that is still gambling, which frankly it is.
That's why Iraq didn't have a Rothschild bank or a Western bank until we went in over there.
So when you look at the
religion, they don't charge interest.
a westernized religion, I'm not saying, you know, such like that, but when you look at the two and you've got these people running around going, it's an evil religion, it's like, yeah, but ours are full of paedophiles. That's how we get our money. And it's like,
but that's my point. That's no one's better than the other.
They are.
So, Matteo,
if you ask me to walk into a mosque, a Vatican, and a church, I'd possibly go for the mosque. Out of all three, I'd be like, with my children, especially with my children, I'd be like, yeah, do you know what? I'll possibly not, you know, after all the controversy and child brothels and shit that you got hanging on and your choir boys and all this lot, you know, I'll possibly leave my kids outside. It's all right.
Yeah.
So, Matteo, when it comes to like, so they actually follow the banking model because of gambling. Is part of is sanctum is against the religious code of Islam.
Yeah. If you go into their bank, I mean, I remember having a look at it. There's the Islamic Bank. I mean, they're all over London. You can see them. There's one.
Yeah.
And they literally, I mean, they will tell you straight away that you. And I think anybody can have an account there. You don't have to be Muslim to have an account.
I'm on it.
I mean, they charge you a small fee, obviously, for admin and you know, obviously the building, etc., because they have costs. But they don't use your money because they see that as gambling. So they actually do stick to those principles, which I find fascinating, and that's probably why they aren't as big over there. as they are here. I mean, banks run Western society. Instead, in their society, I mean, it's more Western, energy companies and so forth that run those kind of places. The banks, you don't hear much about what the banks do in the Middle East and so forth because they can't make money the way they do here because of the strict religious tradition.
Well, I suppose they pay their workers' wages.
So you're talking ethical banking. You're talking ethical banking then? Is that what you're saying? Is it, oh my God, we actually got ethical bankers in the world? I didn't think that was is that an oxymoron nowadays?
I thought that's what the wars were about.
Huh?
Yeah.
I thought that's what the wars were about, were to get like Western banks into the Middle East.
Yeah, because
with IMF funds.
Oh yeah, of course, Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you can't have. But yeah, no, I mean, believe it or not, there are ethical bankers. But the thing about it is that they're ethical because they believe in eternal damnation if they don't, which is probably slightly scarier than having a Ferrari.
I told you, it's always somebody fried to crisp. There's always someone fried to crisp.
So like. Yeah, I can see that. I knew that there was obviously with the IMF and the idea of to get into and take over countries and get them into the fiat currency policy, but I didn't know that it was like kind of that ethical where there was no kind of gambling within the stock market or anything like that, so they don't speculate even more. It doesn't become it's locked off. So is this why that there was a lot of shout out about going? Is it a canny term that you can use from you there, man? So is this reason why a lot of people were saying going to the Islamic Bank purely because there is no speculation, the money is kept, it is not done, it is what is their reserve, that is that, and it's not floated, it's not done anything else. That to me is like I'm switching my bank accounts tomorrow.
Yeah, to be honest, I think I'm gonna.
I mean, it's quite strange to think that a bank actually exists like that, but originally when banking started off, banking originally started off in the Middle East. Mm-hmm. And it was literally where a guy with a huge vault would keep your money as opposed to you keeping it under your bed or in a hole in your wall. You'd keep it, you'd give it to him, and then he'll take care of it.
Didn't they lose that in the water?
Huh?
That huge vault. Wasn't that lost?
Oh yeah. Someone managed to lose it and then miraculously find it a couple of years later.
Gone missing here, boys.
Yeah, it was a big flood and it got buried. Someone come and took it.
Wasn't it a volcano? No, a tsunami or something. They said they all went to go visit the where was it? I can't remember where the island was. And
Pompeii?
No, it was it's a funny name. Can't remember the name of it, but they all had the gold was all on the island, and then the president and the blah blah blah, all these like leaders went to turn up and say, we'd like to show our children the gold. It's like there is no gold. It's gone, and they said it was lost. Something happened, like a natural disaster, and it all just went into the sea or something.
Of course, seems suspicious though, doesn't it?
Bit.
Anyway,
just a bit.
When a bank says it loses a lot of money, when someone says something goes missing of that magnitude.
How many files have we lost with this paedophile case? There's always a lot of things lost when there's things to be present there. It's lost. It's lost.
It's like when, I mean, the Vatican, for example, talking about religion and banking, they originally started making loads of money because they set up a way that you could pay to remove your sins. So if you, for example, like killed a load of people, you could go over to your Christian church, and they'll say, however much it is, 50 florins or 50 pounds, florins back in the day, or whatever it would be, and you'd get your sins revoked. So obviously, all European kings.
I need to get next year.
Yeah, can I do that on an instalment plan?
It's the first pay-as-you-go system ever installed, that, wasn't it?
Yeah. I think I'm at the minute. Apparently, I'm pretty sinned at the minute, so I think I'm going to owe quite a lot of money. So, yeah.
Didn't they do that, Matteo, after the Crusades, if I remember rightly? They was going back after the Crusades and paying money for the embellishment of their sins that they caused over on the Crusades.
I think it was because I think they got the idea because some of the Crusaders, when they came back, they obviously came over a load of gold, donated to the church, and said, you know, we did a lot of killing, we don't feel that well, Father, and so forth. And then he said, you know what, give us that and let's call it even. And then they sort of got the idea from, I think it was from there on. But you got to think about it, that if a religion is built on that, how religious can it actually be?
Can I just ask, I don't know whether I'm allowed to do this. This is where we're bordering. We've spoke about every religion now. Jewish.
Judaism.
Am I allowed to ask how their banking system works, or am I going to be accused of Anti-Semitic?
Anti-Semitic.
I'm allowed to discuss
Anti-Semitism, rather.
Antiseptic.
Antiseptic. That's about right. I think I need it after going to heat check today. I need some antiseptic.
I think the idea of especially now with what's going on in Gaza, to mention Judaism and Zionism, as long as, for me, if you are distinguishing what you're saying and saying, right, I'm going to talk about Zionists, because if you're talking about current Judaism, that's been hijacked by Zionism. That's what it is. The complete installation of national pride and everything like that is completely different.
Not right now get arrested for talking against the religion like we've just done with a few religions now. Can we, EU countries in Europe, is it not?
I tell you what, it is in France. You can't tweet about it in France.
Yep.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you mean you can't tweet about it? What, as in what, you can't?
About a year you can't tweet it. There's been people arrested for tweeting anti-Jewish comments on Twitter.
Yeah.
Well, that was a year or two ago that come in.
They put that law in for Muslims in the UK, there'd be no fucking UK left. We're a bunch of Nazis. We're like, you'd be like, right, anyone that puts out a anti-Muslim tweet is going to be arrested today. It'd be like, wow, we've got houses.
Yeah, but that's a different case though, because that's blatant racism though, isn't it? You know, that's blatant racism. If you're gonna like start denigrating against it,
now they're calling it religionism. Is it racism? Racism is discussing an Asian minority.
No, it's it's denigrating anyone. No, it's any minority.
No, it's
any minority.
Jewish is a race as well as a religion, isn't it?
Yes, because it's a state.
But then it goes to the simple fact: if you say hate speech, there's a difference, isn't there? Like if you to disagree with something, as long as you put it into context, you would have a standpoint to argue against it in any court of official law or anything like that. If you are directly being anti-Semitic or you're being racist, xenophobic or anything like that, and you purposely direct it at a colour, race, creed or anything, racism, bang, bosh. Yes, hate speech.
That's a lie. That's a lie.
No, we're talking openly.
That French thing, that was purely about Jewish. That was not about, you could have said what you wanted about black person. Yeah. You could have said what you wanted about Muslim.
Are we allowed to discuss?
That was purely.
I will check right now. I'm going to get on my other phone and I'm going to check right now.
Nice phone, by the way.
No, that's my old one. I'm on my new one right now. I smashed this one.
I wish you could see P's phone right now. I wish you could see P's phone right now. Are you on it, P?
Yeah, I am.
It's like having crackle effect glass on her phone, like someone's painted that crackle effect paint.
That might actually look pretty cool, though.
Chris, send us your iPhone.
I sold my iPhone. No, I've got this. This is my I've got the Galaxy Note 2 in my hand, and I've got the Galaxy Note 3 that I'm on now. And that, oh man, with the Apple LED screen. Oh my God, it is just. I'm happy that I got that for 2 years. I don't need anything else. It is absolutely totally amazing. Geeking out. Look, I'm getting all geek time. So what you said this was.
There's a good website for you. It's called How Many Slaves Do You Own?
I probably own quite a lot. Unfortunately.
Phones are pretty bad, aren't they? When it comes
I took mine into the phone shop and started yelling, "Please take my phone back, it's evil. I hate it."
This is the first phone I bought. This is the first phone I've got that I've actually taken out in 5 years. So I've recycled every phone that I've had and waited and gone on, but this was just, it's like, right, okay, that's my next purchase. Then I normally go and buy second-hand goods because, especially electrical, like you say, because just the precious metals in these is just absurd.
I don't have a phone contract, and I only have gadgets that will win.
She wins everything. She bloody wins everything. She's like a little. She's everywhere. You honestly, you have a look. She's won like an iPad.
I've won about 4 iPads, about 6 mobiles. 1 year I won £37,000 worth of stuff.
Jesus, you're living the dream, aren't you?
How did you do that?
Products without paying Apple. That's living the dream.
That's the only way I have to in my house. I don't pay for them. And
how did you do this?
Mainly photo and art competitions and things like that. But like some of it sounds a lot, but some of it was like a holiday at like Alton Towers with the kids, which bumped it up a bit. That was 500 quid. And then there was a chair that was £6,000 chair, like level swivel chair. I wouldn't have paid £6 for that, and if I tried to sell it, I wouldn't get a couple of hundred for it. So I just kept that. But you know what I mean. But most of the iPads I won, I gave to people that I like.
Fair enough.
That really wanted an iPad but couldn't afford one.
I love it. I love it so much.
So my kids and that, they all just have,
we're a hand-me-down family. We're a hand-me-down family. Most of our stuff is hand-me-downs, and we're like little pixies. So we fit in anything, kids' clothes, a lot. So we're like, yeah, we'll go for that. It's fine.
I think I've found what you meant. There was a 2000 law it passed in France. French law on secular and conspicuous religious symbols. So they banned them in 2004. Let me just go to Wikipedia.
Oh, but they banned the Muslim burqa.
No, this was after. They did. This is only a couple of years ago. That somebody was tweeting something about Jews and that, and they got arrested. Anon did a big thing on it. Anon was pissed off about it.
They said that they denied the Jewish. Israel had falsified the amount of deaths in the Holocaust. I think that's what they tweeted.
Honestly, there was a big. I don't know if it still stands. I don't know if it was short term or what, but I remember there was big campaigns because people were pretty annoyed. Not that because as you say, hate speech should not happen to anyone. As it was only one particular class of hate. It wasn't like all hate speech. It wasn't if I was racist to somebody that they would necessarily have grounds to complain. It was purely Jewish.
So but then that comes under that would come under that 2004 law, because what that 2000 law said.
It was way after that.
But you've got the 2010 law that banned the vow and anything else, but then that comes into with this 2004 law that is a complete.
They banned the burqa.
Yeah, they banned the covering of faces, but that is on from all denominations of whatever. But this 2004 law seems the one that they would get them on because it's any religious symbol. So any religious symbol or connotation that you would have, when it would be the hate speech, it would come back to this law, I reckon.
And the fact that Germany, you're not allowed to deny the Holocaust, is that not denying free speech?
Is that true?
Am I being too controversial here? Stop me, guys. I don't know.
No, I didn't even know.
If I get arrested tomorrow, just...
No, could you repeat? Sorry, I didn't hear the last one.
She said.
Yeah, go on.
She said that in Germany, was it? You can't say they don't believe that the Holocaust was real. You can't be a Holocaust denier.
Does that mean that you're not allowed free speech?
I mean, I would say. I mean, depends on how free speech goes, really. Free speech, you should. I mean, you should be able to say anything. Doesn't matter how hurtful it is. Just as do you believe that you have the right to say whatever you want? whenever you want. Doesn't matter if
I got told by a policeman 2 weeks ago when I said that they were making racial slurs on the Cambridgeshire Constabulary page that people are allowed their free speech and they try to not encroach on what people say, even though they were calling them bloody Muslims and fucking foreign scum. They should all burn in hell.
Yeah, but that's allowed. You can say that. You can say that though.
You're not allowed to say that the Holocaust may not have
But
happened.
you are allowed to say that in this country.
Yeah, you are allowed
to say that in this country.
Europe, you're not.
You're not allowed to tweet pictures of George Osborne with a parties.
Yeah, we shared the shit out of that though, didn't we?
That's a good point. That is a pretty good point, actually. If you want to talk about the annihilation of free speech within this country, Natalie Roll putting out the pictures of Georgie Osborne there, like at the party where there's cocaine on the table, and she's released. She tweeted out the photo yesterday, or was it the day before, of Mr. Osborne dancing away at this party with a guy bent over like this, looked like he was putting something somewhere. I don't know what, because you can't actually see.
Any orifice is a hole, isn't it?
Any hole's a goal, really. Yeah. So she gets arrested. She's been arrested for tweeting out this picture.
Yeah.
There's a free speech. Yeah, there's this country.
So I get told by the police. I was going to say another P word then. I had to catch myself. Sorry. I get told by the police that I'm not allowed. I have to allow people to make racist slurs online because they're not directly racist to a race. I have to watch that hate speech because they are so need to be careful with free speech, yet some bird gets arrested for watching George Osborne take it up the arse and snort a line of coke.
Allegedly. That is allegedly, of course.
There's not photo evidence of him dancing around in a brothel with a line of coke on the table, allegedly, like we said, the smoke fire.
But I mean, the idea of free speech, privacy as well, with the whole drip bill thing going through, it's all questionable in this country. And I mean, you can talk about we have democracy, we don't have democracy, but it's a really, really haunting thing when something like that happens, and it sort of reminds you that you have free speech up to a point, as long as you're talking and not offending the powers. No,
as long as you're saying the right thing.
Exactly. As long as you're behaving yourself, getting into there, doing the right job, hating the right people, then it's all fine. But as soon as you start hating the wrong people, then you're in trouble.
When you think as activism as well, we are always dancing on the lines of controversy. I know I've said things where I've gone, am I going to get arrested today? Am I going to get arrested today? And I know that to be an activist, with this Gaza, right, to be the first people to grab it by the balls and say, this is what it is. And I have been absolutely ripped to shreds online for my personal view, and I think I've expressed it before, and where people they will go over and over and they'll go, are you saying Hamas are not terrorists? And I'm like, that's exactly what I'm saying, Bob. They're not terrorists. Israel are. And you literally get ripped to shreds as soon as you are controversial. Now we've got activists that are truly divided on this right now because they daren't stick up for Hamas. How fucking shit is that?
I don't think that you have to stick up for Hamas at all.
You know what I mean?
You can, you don't, but you can defend them. There is a standpoint that you can actually defend them with a valid point of just saying, look, this oppressed people have got nothing else to do, and if you was segregated into this open air prison and you had nothing else left to do, where you had no water, your kids are getting bombed, you're starving, you've got nothing. The only thing that you could possibly do is let off a rocket. Are you not going to do that? Then I can put that argument to you, because I'm pretty sure that I would.
I think
Hamas is in a position where they have, they're human beings backed into a corner. That's exactly what they are. So you as an individual, and here in the West we find it hard to understand because we're not backed into a corner. Yes, our privacy is being destroyed. Yes, our liberties are being taken away, but we're not backed into a corner to the point that Palestine is. So to us, his actions may seem extreme, may seem like the actions of a terrorist organization to us. But to people pushed on the edge of effectively oblivion, because that's exactly where they're going at this point, To them, that is the only rational action they have. Because if they try and ask Israel nicely, if they try and protest, they won't care. Where do you go? I mean, do you let? I mean, you're seeing your kids dying. You're seeing your mothers, your daughters, your grandparents, and so forth be killed effectively. So of course you're going to act in a, some may say, unrational way. But you got to think about it. If someone's pushing you to the corner, are you going to act in the same way? Most of us would.
Yeah, and being from the go on, sorry, P. Go on.
When like people are going on about Muslims in this country, they are defending their country in a way, right? That is just the thought of a threat. That's how irate an English person can get at the thought of a threat from a foreign entity. Now imagine if those people, you know, there was bombs going off all in this country. We would all be fighting back, and we would take whatever help we could get. And I'd have to speak to a lot of Palestinian people to get their opinion on what Hamas is. But they are all that
unwavering support at the moment.
They are all that these people have got, and they don't have a lot. Hamas don't have a lot. Half of what Hamas fire into Israel is is deflected, isn't it? They've got that shield.
I got Iron Dome, which is £12 million, as well as on top of the contract that is completely American. They built it for them.
And then I'll stand on both sides.
You know, if you're saying that, it's to protect the civilians, yeah, give the Palestinians one too, and then Hamas and Israeli government can fire numb bombs at each other to the heart's content, and the people will be safe, because that's what the crime is, to bomb civilians. These are not soldiers, these are civilians.
It's a strategic move. We know now it's a strategic move.
Did you watch that journalist get killed?
Yeah.
With the ambulances and that. All the weapons around there, and people, they were loaded up, weren't they, with their big fucking missiles under their arms.
Yeah, but then that's like...
That's about their daily business.
Yeah, but there is no other thing that they can do. There is no. This is like Matteo's point, is that a complete point of destitution, where you to try and put that into the layman's head in this scenario, in Western civic, is impossible, because they can't do it. They cannot fathom. Only activists and people that are really just are more conscious of their own surroundings and themselves.
Even the activists.
Yeah, but then they're not really understanding that, though. You've got to be able to say, look, put yourself in this situation. Try and get your head around this simple.
Forget the past. Forget the future. This moment, what is happening now? There are thousands of people being slaughtered, hundreds of kids being slaughtered, and put yourself there. Fuck what Hamas did in the past right now, because what's happening right now is more important. It is so much more important.
For me to see activists not taking a valid standpoint on this is quite it's complete hypocrisy, because you see the majority of activists that want a change, they want to see something being done, and this is so what, you don't want to actually do something, you want to just sit on the sidelines. Hold on, you've got the biggest fucking cause of 60 years to go on here. This is the perfect standpoint. You've got a mixed, diverse cultural basis where you could unite on a huge amount of conscious level and educate across a huge scale, and you're not willing to take that. What? Hold on, why are you even contemplating being an activist? Those guys, for me, are as worse as people not involved.
I think in the West, we've got this kind of culture of activism being almost like a fashion trend now.
Yeah.
You see people.
I was just gonna say that.
Doing it, for the mask, doing it because I'm an activist. It's cool. I'm wearing jeans and I'm an activist. It's almost like a fashion trend at the moment. And the problem with Israel and Gaza is that it's becoming to the point where you're actually seeing the powers that be crush a grouping of individuals that are fighting for their very survival. And I think that hits home for a lot of activists that do read a lot of these kind of fringe and alternative newspapers and so forth, so see the world for something different to the mainstream. And they're it does make fear onto people, that in the sense that, if that did happen somewhere else, would we stand up and fight? And a lot of these people that wouldn't support Hamas probably wouldn't, because it's okay to go out on a protest. Because I know a few people, for example, that went to the Gaza protest in London, not because they cared about the Gaza protest, but because it was something to do on a Saturday.
Yeah.
Oh no.
And not only
Yeah, and it's sad to
remember,
say, but that is exactly how a lot of people feel. And I think the people that you're talking about, the people that are just, you know, oh, I can't support Gaza, I can't support these people, etc., are doing it because they are simply activists for a fashion trend rather than actual activists for what
I think you
they,
nailed it.
they
Yeah.
genuinely believe in. And that's a sad,
Yeah,
that's a
and
sad
not only
reality.
that, you've got a lot of activists that right now we are on the domestic extremist list. We know that. Right now, 3-4 weeks ago, I believe I stepped it up to the domestic terrorist list. Now, this is the risk that we put forward, and the people in the back of your mind, you know, by even saying for a second, I'm sorry, I stand by anyone that stands by Palestine right now. Anybody will come to their aid is a better person than you, and a better person than our government, a better person than these activists who sit there and go, oh, but Israel, the soldier broke his ankle in the... What the fuck? Do you know what I mean? How can you even look at this situation? But they're so scared. They're so scared that if they support them, they'll be supporting terrorists.
Yeah.
And it's being pussies, being absolute pussies. And I've had enough of turning back people on my page.
That's the element of fear.
As bad as the Muslim word, though, isn't it?
That's exactly what we run on. Is fear.
Terrorists.
Yeah.
It's a complete guidance of fear. We get you fearing, and look at that division within, like we've spoke about before, about the division between left and left and left. You know, you want to talk about a division in politics to the right hand side. There's an even bigger goal. I didn't think when I started coming into this guise of getting out there and and it ain't a fashion statement, mate. I ain't like, all right, I ain't jumping on no bandwagon. When I started getting towards this way of thinking, you know, I can't understand why people are not coming together and understanding it as well. If I can understand and find out something as quickly and as readily as available that is there in an open source product, why would you be on the so-called left and the disagreement of the mainstream? Why are you bitching and moaning at everyone? And why are you causing so much? You're causing more infighting than the right-hand side. Why are you not? Well, just why can you not come into solidarity, into line? Do you think that the right-hand side or the powers that be argue this frivolously about shit? No, they don't, because they've got their shit tight. They know what they're doing. They stick to a plan. This is the stuff that doesn't happen.
For example, I mean, look at you. I mean, UKIP, for example, is a great example of this. You know, what you're saying is completely true, and I think the left. I mean, look how many independent left parties. I mean, just we have in the UK alone, just to talk, you know, in a political sense. The left has always been, even historically, since Marx, the left has always been massively divided on so many different issues. And when it was time for effectively the left to fight the right on causes, they were too busy attacking each other and still debating the philosophies. Instead, if you look at the right, for example, when it hits the fan, in essence, they know exactly who to blame, they know exactly how to market, they know exactly who to fight, and they know exactly how to do it. They've always been, I mean, yes, they obviously have their own debates and stuff, but as soon as stuff hits the fan, bang, all organisation comes together. It's like the European elections. Everyone rallied, the EDL, they all rallied around UKIP, because UKIP was their best option, and they trashed everybody at European elections. Simply because there was no other party that was trying to fight against them. The right were united. If you look at the left, it was all over the place, and in fact didn't go anywhere. Just
it's because the left is not brave enough to go far enough. You know, that what people want is a complete change from this system. And if Labour were really serious about it and really cared about us, they would give us that change. But the fact is, they care about lining their own pocket just as much as.
Labour's in with everyone. You know, they're still coming from a neoliberalistic standpoint. You know, there's no, if you want to talk a complete paradigm shift, there is like the only ones that come even close to the slightest possibility within the current paradigm is the Greens. But then you still look to, they're not 100% on what they're doing. But the whole emphasis of from what I gathered to being an activist was coming together in solidarity, was forgetting about the little indiscretions that you might have with someone or you might not agree, but to come together on a bigger scale. Because like Matteo says, this is a well-oiled machine that we're fighting. The only way that you can beat this system is to play the game, against them and come together quickly. If you don't, there is no harm.
We have to be mindful that the right and people who don't agree with us will throw trolls in the mix. You know, some of it will be genuine people thinking that, but some of it is also disinformation and shit stirring.
So with that point, would we stand a better chance of finding out that if we was together as a cohesive unit, or would we stand less chance and have more influence of these said trolls or disinformation if we was disjointed? Because that's still the problem. If we're still disjointed, you've seen some of these people where they come up with their false ideas and calling people shills. I've seen it, and it's disgusting. I don't care who you are.
I think about 2 years ago, there was an organisation called the OPTT, the One Person's Public Trust. Now, they filed a load of liens in the American court system and shut down all corporations. She was a lawyer in Boston. She was sworn to the bar, and she did this big thing, and she was going to free the people. It was a big Freeman thing. And lots of people were really getting into this. You know, she was saying that she was seizing, that she'd worked for the Rothschilds. She had worked for them. She, like I say, she was a lawyer. And people were getting really involved in this. And they were sending off their paperwork and risking their houses. Now, I was quite interested in it to start off with, and I'd ask questions. And the attacks I got for asking questions, like, sure, you pay troll. I've never seen such vicious people in my life just for wanting information. And I mean, it did turn out to be a big money scam, but, you know, they are vicious when they think that, you know, that some people, when you question them.
Yeah, I think a lot of people forget that actually, you know, yes, you might know things.
I've been called a bird.
People wake up at different times.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hate that terminology though, Matteo. Man, that waking up bullshit. I can't stand it, because that still creates a divide between you and them. Someone that is just less educated than you, that doesn't have that level of understanding of you yet. How do you approach that? How do you approach that in a complete way that doesn't denigrate against them, that doesn't make them feel alienated?
There isn't a way at the minute where we can actually do that. There is no terminology where we can sit there and say, because this is half our reason, is I'm going to use the term waking up because I do not know any other term to use, but you've got a lot of activists who have just woken up, right, and they haven't got the conscience that it's took. We were talking about this the other day, weren't we, P? Where do you remember when the fence, we were doing it when the fence was still up in Gaza, and the reporter like got his head chopped off, and that we're going back 10 years now. And when you watch it progress, and then you're watching the government progress, and you're watching that, your conscience shifts. You watch how they watch, and over a matter of time you realise that it's like when you take a bicker on. If somebody fights with me, my hands are different colours, that's my driving arm. I just see that there. You've got two people going head to head. Now you will find somebody who has been enlightened to a point will back down and say, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to offend you, because they know that the only way that this person is going to win, going to try and win, is through aggression. And instantly you break that connection. The minute you broke it, that's it. There's no going back on that connection. And we know as people that we have to go connection, 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 connection. You can't break the connection. We need connection, like, all over. And people are just so angry right now. And you've got people who have just woken up who are still in a very angry stage. It takes a very long time to get past the angry stage. It does really take a long time.
It's also a shock. You know, you grow up most of your life pretty much believing all the bullshit, and then you start down one rabbit hole, and then there's another rabbit hole, and like you were saying earlier about the fear of arrest, there's the panic. You know, suddenly you're thinking, oh shit, if I learnt too much, I can't unknow what I know. I know it. You know, well, I wish I hadn't started this. So you've got, in the beginning, there is so many emotions. It doesn't help to be attacked for being asleep. It really doesn't. It's much better to get somebody by the hand and leave them, you know.
But that's not done within the left-hand side, though, is it? You know, that's not done.
It's just you choose the right people.
It's
just you have to make sure the right people are by your side. You can always spot them because they're the people that don't bicker among themselves. I hate to be a part of a group where I hate to be the first person to leave, and I make sure that I never, ever, ever make anybody feel like that. I will never, ever talk about somebody when they're not in my presence to stand up for themselves. And I will always talk about them with them first, because we have to really, and it comes back to the most commonest saying ever, to treat people how you want to be treated, how you feel you need to be treated. And it works, just being kind to people. And if they offend you, just take a few minutes, walk away, and come back to the situation when you're ready. Don't break the connection to the point of it being irreparable. Just walk away and deal with it. And I think a lot of activists have come to that point. These ones you get, there's a lot of, I'm not going to even name the communities it's happening in, but I'm watching it online and it's me, 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 me. You're going back to personal issues. All you Gaza. Fight about your lipstick and your hairdo, mate, but look what's happening in Gaza. You know, they're forgetting what they're fighting for. They're trying to be the daddies of activism, and there are no daddies of activism. We're each going to have our own calling, and we're each, but the thing is, if you're going to be so scared off that by saying, right, you know, you've got a lot of people that turn around to me at the minute and they're like, you're saying online that you support Hamas. I'm like, I don't support Hamas. Stop trying to like box me into a fucking, you know, stop it. And it's like, I'm saying simply that you've been brainwashed, and even you don't realise how brainwashed you are, because for years they've been using this Hamas. How do you not know? We've got to be open to everything, everything. Now the Sun has posted stuff about Hamas. That in my head as an activist goes lie, lie, lie. Lie, something lying there, and you know, you've got people that are so scared of going, I'm going to be classed as being a terrorist. Well, I hope they learn a lesson, because in a few years' time they're all going to be waking up very ashamed with themselves that they backed the Holocaust.
I mean, there are some things, for example, like, I mean, some news networks that you should most probably avoid. I mean, the one you mentioned, for example, is a given.
Yeah.
The sad thing is, I mean, they're one of the most read in the world. I mean, I think the thing about this left and right sort of movement thing is that we've got to also accept that the right are effectively fighting for something that is a lot easier to achieve, in the sense that, I mean, they're appealing to greed, which is a very, very simple thing to appeal to, because you know, you can get someone on greed very easily, very, very easily. Instead, the left is appealing on humanitarian aid and the act of helping each other, which is something incredibly hard to rally people around. And the one, I mean, and I hate using this example because a lot of people feel very funny about it, but I think it is very, very applicable, because the only successful, well, it can be argued, it's not maybe the only one, but the biggest successful, revolution in a sense, was led by Lenin, by the left.
I knew you was going to say that. I knew you was going to say that.
But it has to be said, because regardless...
No, it's true. No, you're true. You're right. You are right. I completely, wholeheartedly agree with you on that.
Does hit you a bit shaky though, doesn't it?
What happened afterwards is almost irrelevant. It's the way that they managed to effectively almost utilize the right powers against themselves, because they had a simple message, which the left always complicates their message, but they had a simple message: peace, bread, and land, which simpler than that you can't get. And they had people that were effectively, all they did was being an activist. You got to call it a career. Their job role was being an activist, helping other people to effectively create their own events, create their own protests, create their own. And the way they organized it was absolutely incredible. Just from an organizational standpoint, they were absolutely incredible. They were amazing when they were campaigning. I mean, their ways of being an activist were absolutely incredible, absolutely incredible. But what I think the difference is that they used the unions that Russia had at the time to effectively build almost like a war chest. So they had huge amounts of money. By the time they jumped into it, they had huge amounts of money. And this is something I said, I think it was last week again, is that the problem with activism nowadays is that activists and the left always think, okay, I'm not part of the system, I'm going to jump out. I'm sorry, but we're all part of the system. You can't just detach yourself. And
Yeah,
if you try and fight it, you need to fight it on its terms, because we are in its terms. And you need money to do that. If you don't have money, you're going to get nowhere. I mean, it's amazing that people have gotten to where they have with so little funding.
Yeah.
Look at the biggest.
Had was copious amounts of money, because they got it together. They got all the people, and let's be honest, there are more of the left than there are of the right. So
Look at your biggest. So look at the biggest proof of that argument in the last 2 months. The biggest proof of that argument right there is the People's Assembly, because they have money. When you had the bunch of unions and you had this, those have been smashed within modern society, and this is where the whole idea of now, see, where you said like about the complete separation of people and people taking themselves out of the system. The only reason that they're trying to do that is to reassimilate the idea of community. They want to feel themselves part of that community. There is no way within, especially the white British male society, where you are meant to feel part of a cohesive unit unless you are standing or sitting at your beloved football team chanting at some other bunch of minions that have been doing the same. That's the only place that you are coming together collectively. So you look at that whole power of how they gained what little power they've got left, unions. There is only a small amount of people, because people have been led to believe that unions are a bad thing. You can go at it on your own. That's the whole self-perpetuating notion of capitalism put to its fullest, that you don't need unions, man. You don't need, look, you can get what that is. Yeah, do it. If you can't do it, what is that the biggest thing within capitalism, man? The harder you work, the more you'll get. Bullshit. It's not. You can put in the
are empowered today got it because of bloodline. It has nothing to do with working hard. If you look at, for example, all the entrepreneurs that they always push towards us. Facebook, for example, founder of Facebook, had rich parents that funded his program. Yes, it was a revolutionary idea, and yes, he set it up by himself, but he didn't do it without funding. You can't make money if you don't have money.
You need money to make money. Exactly that. You can't come up with an idea now, but this is the problem with the left that I don't understand. I don't get it. For me, I'm completely in the same kind of mindset of you, Matteo. To beat this system, you've got to be able to play this system at its current rules. The current rules are set out. You just have to play the game. If we can't play the game by their rules, it doesn't matter, because they have their rules. You're never going to win. You're never going to come to a solution, because you're not playing the game that they have designed. You play the game, beat them, that's it. You've got to beat them by that way. It's only...
The way to play them at their game is self-reliance and compliance. But that's hard to do. That's hard to achieve.
Well, I mean, the point is that if you did it with money, because for example, I mean, take again, using the example of Lenin. He waited till the exact right time when the government was a little destabilized. There was a scandal within the Tsar's kingdom, and then they started to litter the Russian major cities with pamphlets. They started to speak at every corner, and these people weren't doing it just with no money. These people were paid speakers. That they were out there being activists, but they were able to pay them to do so they could still make a living and speak 24/7 at every corner. They were littering the Tsar. I mean, the government didn't know what to do, because they themselves were struggling to compete with the amount of leaflets they were putting out, the amount of speakers they were putting out, and they were cutting jobs. They were firing these people, but they couldn't find them because they weren't paid by anybody but the party.
You can ask any one of us now, if I was paid to go and talk to people all day long, would I not take that opportunity? Of course I would.
I mean,
I
would, I think.
If I got money for going and spreading and showing people what there is information out there and pointing them in the direction of all they have to look at is here, here, and here, it's a game changer.
So worn out because they don't listen. You'd just be non-listened to. That's why.
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't matter, because that's where propaganda works. That's where propaganda works. There is a notion of positive propaganda. Yeah. What we're doing is propaganda. What we're doing right now is the promotion of ideas that are not the mainstream. So that is the promotion of it's propaganda. But if you've got a group of people
No.
Sorry.
What?
It's propaganda.
It's not
not promoting something, pushing towards something that isn't instantly true.
No,
No.
propaganda is
No.
pushing. It's
Pushing an agenda, an idea.
Pushing a message through artwork, through speaking, through various other means. Propaganda has turned into a negative word after the war.
Yeah, very much.
But I mean, it's not originally. I mean, if in the English language, propaganda is not a negative word. It is simply the skill of being able to convey a message using art, which is an amazing, using music, which is another way, using. I mean, the left. I mean, they have a huge potential when it comes to music. I mean, for example, you could use the rap industry, for example, which was, I mean, the form of conveying certain abilities, an old style rap, not all rap by all means, and now most rap is negative, but the way of using propaganda can be for music, arts, speaking, leafleting.
So we've basically destroyed the word propaganda.
Yeah, because it got taken over by Milton Friedman. Because Milton Friedman and what's his name? Siggy Freud's son. His nephew, Edward Bernays. Edward Bernays, the king of propaganda. Everything that we know now as public relations was devised with the idea of Sigmund Freud's ideas and the use of propaganda, of manipulating and feeding information and doing these acts to do this. That's all it is. It's just that self-perpetuation. If you had enough people singing from the same hymn sheet, you're going to sit there. What happens when a chant happens? When you hear a chant?
What's the difference between promotion and propaganda?
Nothing. Nothing, because it's all propaganda.
The same thing.
If you don't like the word propaganda, call it marketing.
Yeah. Call it public relations.
It's the I mean, for example, what certain massive companies are doing, they're using propaganda. They just don't call it propaganda because it's a negative word. They invented the word marketing. Before marketing was around, everybody was using the word propaganda. It was
Edward Bernays.
It's just an old version of an English word that has evolved into marketing. That's all it is. It's just the evolution of the English language. We now call it marketing, and companies do it all the time.
That film that I was trying to show you. That film I was trying to show you the other night. They Live. You got to have seen that, Matteo. You got to have seen They Live. Rowdy Roddy Piper.
Send us a link if you can.
I will send you the link on YouTube. It is basically, it's just this down and out guy, and he finds these set of glasses, and he puts these glasses on, and everything around him is not what it is. It's run by these alien type people, and every billboard has got a bay. You know where the bigger bay sign comes from now? That comes from They Live. And it was this complete reality shift of using these subliminal messages and propaganda and all this just to keep us subjected. Really great. It's, Carpenter. Carpenter's film. Mate, it's the banging film. But that whole subliminal side, but like Matteo says, it was a word that was just being manipulated and changed differently because it was put on a war term. It was put, the last shift of that propaganda was in the First and Second World War. Well, that's propaganda, that is. It's a sounding word that makes it, well, that's just an idea. That's just information that's being put out there. Whether it has an agenda behind it.
It's like exactly the same as marketing. Companies don't put out their message fairly, because if they did, they wouldn't get anywhere.
Please drink Coke. We fuck people over. We don't pay them a good wage, and it rots your teeth, and it's fucking full of sugar. Drink Coke. It doesn't work. You can't do it. You cannot sell something ethically. So that's the whole idea of marketing. We just sell it.
Coca-Cola had to have on its side of its tin the picture of a small child, and then behind it, baby murderers. It kind of wouldn't go down too well, would it?
You can't do it. You can't do it. That's why that whole.
Back to left. Could you imagine if the People's Assembly or Anonymous or whatever else put their money together and bought, I don't know, an advertising slot on ITV at 6 p.m. They wouldn't get rejected because they want money. Phrase it correctly and they wouldn't be able to reject it. Could you imagine how many people would see that message? Almost like a big vendetta kind of thing without the whole hacking the TV set kind of.
There is somebody that
method of pushing your option. I mean, the world is a very, very simple place. You have money, you can do what you want. You don't have money, you can't do what you want. It's a very, very simple world that they've set up. And if any activist or any organization were to use that system, because they use it because they have bollock loads of money, we can't because we don't. If we set up about a couple of thousand or $1 million to put an advertising campaign, We could do whatever we want. They
I
wouldn't
mean,
say.
Go on, Pete.
I like the People's Assembly, but they are funded by unions, and their actual name is People's Assembly Against Austerity, and there is lots of other issues other than austerity. I mean, to me, the one band that there should be is corruption. If you're going to put everything under anything, it has to come down to
But
corruption.
they can't. Yeah, but that's the point. No, that's Matteo's point. No. Yeah, it's not. It is limiting it, but it's going to what? Its broadest base where it can gain funds to promote itself. That self-perpetuating thing. It can't do anything without money. Look at all the causes. Look at when we try to set up events.
They can't do anything without money, and they're funded by the unions. So therefore, they can't do anything that the unions disagree with, and the unions seem to be pretty flaky on direct action to get anything done.
So
So,
that's the point.
action group,
You have
they
to.
need.
The point is, it's all about manipulation and playing the game. It's like, for example, Lenin, for instance. Yes, his main qualm was with the lack of democracy, because the Tsar was an autocratic ruler. But that wouldn't flow with the people. What he had to say was peace, bread, and land, because that's all they cared about. They cared about food, they cared about ending the First World War, and they cared about getting their own land. So that's what he had to go with. That's what he had to roll with, because that is what flowed with the people that he had. At the moment, the only thing that people understand at the moment is austerity. The general understanding, if you mention austerity, they can get behind that. If you start talking about direct activism, green issues and so forth, people don't connect. It's all about. It's not about the back message. The back message can still exist, but it's all about what slogan you take to. So
Austerity doesn't mix with everyone. Not everybody is for austerity. You know, a lot of people think people on benefits and things like that's austerity. They don't see
No, they
it.
don't. But they will do though.
Yeah, but they don't at the moment.
Yeah, they will
Freedom.
do though, because they, like Matteo says, they have to use that piggyback. They have to have that main narrative to stick to that is applicable to the most amount of people. Now, even though unions are going to come out, right? Unions are not what they used to be. Like, you know, you'll remember proper unions. Like, you know, they're non-existent anymore. The way and the framework that they're designed and allowed to work is completely different to what. You know, they're passing new laws every time to go and quell the idea of you being able to strike, to withdraw. The only thing that we have within this society is our power of employment, to withdraw our labour. That is the only real narrative thing that we have within a neoliberalistic capitalism style. We can't do anything else. If we don't have money, we don't have power, we don't have direct arms to do anything, the only thing that we can do is withdraw our labour and stop. Now, they looking at with austerity, everyone is going to be affected. This isn't even the first wave of austerity that we've seen kicked in. Labour has said they're still going to follow the same pattern. This isn't an idea that's going to move on. This is going to affect more and more people. So if you need to get the biggest demographic of people on your side to make a conscious change, you need to hit a narrative that is hitting the widest range of people. And austerity is every middle class person now is going to get, as soon as they're eradicating the middle class. They want to eradicate the middle class. As soon as that middle class goes down, and the way that they do that is by pushing it by a nationalistic idea of look at what they've got over there, they're getting more than you, they're getting this, that. While slowly and slowly they're coming down. Look at wage, look at the way that no one's had a decent pay rise. Standard of living is going up, and it's slowly, the imbalance is going slowly and slowly. And before, how do you boil a frog? How do you kill it? You don't put a fucking frog in a frying pan. You don't put him in boiling hot water. You slowly turn it up. You slowly get him in that pan, let him swim around, and slowly turn that heat up. And that's what we're having.
There's veggie here, you know.
For example, look at UKIP, for example. They have loads of issues that they want to tackle. They want to privatise the NHS. They do want to tackle all these issues. That's their agenda. But for the European elections, what they used was a very, very simple method. They blamed it all on immigrants. Because that is something, you know, people are stealing your jobs. We need to fight against the European Union. It's immigrants. They're the problem. It was a simple message. That's not all Nigel Farage cares about. He cares about giving tax breaks to the rich, but he will get to that. That's not what he cares about right now, because he needs to get the people on side. And the way he did that was through hating immigrants. because a lot of people want somebody to blame. And they can't understand the more complex answers because they're not explained in the best possible way. A very, very simple, I mean, it's simple. You know, blame somebody that doesn't look like you. Simple as that. Everybody can understand that at the flip of a switch.
Yeah. The People's Assembly are putting people off.
Yeah.
We have no complaints about People's Assembly not dealing with, they won't get on the issue of MP paedophiles and things like that. Lots of different issues.
But they can't. They can't, no.
It doesn't matter if they can't. It matters that people are turning away.
I've got to run off now.
Right.
Sorry about that, but
Bye, Matteo.
I'll speak to you guys soon.
Bye, Matteo.
Bye.
When you go,
Build up. They have to build up, right? If they could have had more people, it is better. And to be honest, it's not acceptable to me for you to say, well, they can't, because if an issue is important,
but you were saying earlier about the way that we have to educate people and the way that we have to, you know, the denigration between switched off and switched on people, awake, unawake, conscious or unconscious, whatever terminology you want to use to define. If they go balls to the wall on this one issue that doesn't that only gets, you know about austerity, but you also know about the complete ring of paedophilia that's going in. That is slowly working its way into the mainstream. You cannot, as you know, when you've spoken to someone and you go a little bit like, you know, the depth of knowledge that we know about, their face glazes over. They become, they're like, they just like, are like, they're not susceptible to anything you say, so you have to find a common ground, unfortunately. And until every idea about, you know, like we know that the paedophilia rings that have been going around, that there's information there to prove this. People are not willing to do that. That's our problem, because we want it now. We've seen it. We know it.
Yeah, and you've got lots of good activists that would go out and support the People's Assembly, but they won't, because say I'm an activist and say I'm Parents for Justice with forced adoption, and I join an activist group and I say, hang on, my kids have been taken, this has happened, and you turn around and say to me, oh, I'm not interested, right? I'm off to go and find, because I'm standing for your cause as well. You should stand for my cause as well. That's how it works. You know what I mean? To a certain extent, they have to allow other things, not just austerity. Austerity is not the biggest issue in this country. It's not. It is a big issue. It is not the biggest issue in this country.
I've pulled out of the People's Assembly.
Because what would happen, right? If by some miracle something happened and we didn't have austerity, would they still be fighting for our rights? That's what I want to know. Will you still be standing with us, or are you going to scuttle off?
Well, there's a difference, though, isn't there? There's a difference idea in that mentality, though, because people are only react to what directly affects them. Because that's human. That's what human beings are like within this current paradigm. They're selfish. That if something's not, you know, we talk from the ideas of compassion and sincerity, where we expect the same level. If you stand with me in solidarity, I would stand with you in solidarity. But not everyone is going to think along that paradigm. They're not going to. So what would they rather do? Would they rather cater to what they believe? And this is obviously, you know, a fringe amount of people, until they can get the majority over, and then they can switch over to this. Because obviously, if they got austerity cut,
I expect them to have freedom of speech, and if they've got members going there, and that's what their members want to discuss, that is what they should be discussing, because that's how democracy works, right? And I think that if somebody goes to the People's Assembly and posts something on their wall, which might be of interest to other People's Assembly members, don't really think they've got any right to remove them. Now, I'm not saying that the main People's Assembly would, but you've got lots of subgroups run by lots of different people, you know what I mean, and they're all pushing their agendas, because they might share something that's important to them, animal welfare or something like that. That's not austerity. But when you start touching on MPs and things like that, they get
welfare. Did you say welfare?
Animals.
Oh, animal welfare.
You know, like animal rights. You know, that sort of, you know, if you can't say yes to some things, no to other things. I'm not saying right, go out and protest for it, but let the information share freely without ridiculing the people who are doing it. Just because it's not austerity. If you know, I'm sure there is no end of People's Assembly pages sharing Gaza at the moment, right? Now, if they're sharing Gaza, why is, say, something that, like the paedophiles or something like that, why is that not as open for debate?
Because it's still the same argument that they're going to use.
Or they've got to work
no
with those
what.
people in the future.
They don't want to alienate. This is the fear that the left have because of the alienation. If you set up a group, you set up a group for one direction, as in the one, right, this is the cause that we're running on. We cannot differ from this cause. We need to do this. We need to ram this home. If you've got a whole amount of other issues, it dilutes away from the one issue that could show solidarity with everyone else. Now, that's not to say that any other issue is not of the same standing and validity or importance. But
there's no excuse for deleting and censoring any Facebook wall. What you post,
yeah, but then that's
no. What you post and what you send to your members is what you post. When I post on your on say Wave of Action's wall, it doesn't go to all the members. Only people who want to read it will read that, and it's quite a hassle nowadays to read other people's posts. So most people don't even bother doing it. I'm not saying share it on your main page. I'm saying leave it in your sidebar of comments by others as conversation for other people who might be visiting the page and find it interesting. That way, they are not saying this is how we feel, this is the action we're taking. They're just letting freedom of information.
The problem that they have, if that's on there, right, the only problem with the freedom of the internet is that you allow, if there's not rules within that and there's boundaries set within that, then people will take the piss, and then it becomes an absolute free-for-all of whatever Tom, Dick or Harry extremist that you will possibly get, because you have to have a modicum of sense. Now, that's not like I'm saying, but like
something you don't like, but if it's against you, it's an infringement of your rights.
No, because like you said there, like when I go to post in the 2 pages, like if I post, like Kay said this, and you post on your wall, I post differently to what I post on my wall to what I would post in the Peterborough group. My main concern as part of that is to post anything relevant with Gaza. Anything else that doesn't become relevant within Gaza, there's another issue, I don't post in it. I join that group for that reason. That's what enables that. If I want, yeah, but that's the same choice as anyone else. If they don't wish to allow that, then that's because then that's what you're doing. Then is saying because you're not taking a part of these issues, you're not being democratic. Well, they are being democratic because they're saying we've got our freedom of speech and we're just going to stick with this. You completely are entitled to your freedom of speech, but you just can't do it here.
Yeah, so you can't. So you're going to censor Woolship posts. So that's all right, because I want somebody fighting for my future that wants to censor my freedom of speech. Right off the stop, iron into your system or your solutions, because you are imposing a law on me that I think is wrong. I think that we have a right to speak. The only thing that ever matters is our actions. It does not matter what I spout out of my mouth. All that matters is what I act on, unless I'm attacking someone personally and causing them harm, because that's the only law I, think that we should live by, is cause no harm. Now, if I say something that's alarming and distressing, that is a criminal offence. To alarm and distress someone is a criminal offence. To share information is my right. It's my right as a person.
In the right place.
Without censorship.
Guys,
in the right place.
I'm gonna have to cut this. I'm gonna have to cut this short because I want to be done by 9 tonight, and I want to be sort of like cozied up with my chocolate. But I'm gonna say goodbye to this one right now.
Okay.
So I'm gonna cut it short.
Bye.
All right then.
Love you muchly.
See you later.
Bye.
Bye, guys.